Wow. Okay. I think the audio for this is working, and also there's nobody watching, so we have no idea. It looks like it's coming through kind of quiet. So maybe we can't go any louder on the camera. Well, folks, if anyone shows up to this, you can tell me if you can hear this or not. And thank you for joining the experiment, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nikki, and today we're going to run a neurofeedback brain training session live using the BrainBit Flex device. Look how portable it is. It's tiny. This little package contains the tools necessary to modulate our brainwave activity. And I'm also going to be using an Android device, my phone here, which using the Divergence app, the Dive app by Divergence, we can connect the neurofeedback brain training device to a interface, a user app that's very easy to use to actually monitor and modulate EEG activity. So thank you for joining us. This is an experiment. If you're here and you can hear me, let me know in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. I see people popping in and out. So feel free to say hello down in the chat. This is going to be a train wreck, but at the very least, I'm going to get my neurofeedback training session in for the day and maybe learn a thing or two about this whole direct from camera live to YouTube streaming experience. So thank you for joining us once again. I doubt this is going to go up on my channel after it's done, but who knows? Why not, right? People are willing to watch all sorts of buffoonery on YouTube. I'm turning on my phone here so that I can log into the Dive by Divergence app. And I honestly don't know why I'm wearing headphones because I'm not monitoring audio or anything. So you can take those off. And I'll do a little show and tell. This is the BrainBit Flex device. I know this is all very out of focus here because it's on face tracking mode on my camera, but you can see that it's very small. This is the brains of the brain-computer interface that we're going to be using. And in this handy dandy package, we also have the battery and battery charger. So first thing we can do is verify that this device actually has some battery. You can plug it in and see if the light on the thing lights up. And oh, it actually looks like this is dead. So it's a good thing we came prepared because I have another one on these devices. When you plug the battery in, it should be flashing green on the BrainBit Flex. And it should be like not a super quick flashing green. Oh, but this one's doing the same thing. So maybe they're both dead. But you know what, folks? We are going to find out. Now, next thing we need to do is, I'm not even certain if I have a neurofeedback protocol programmed in on the provider end for me to run. So since I am both master and student in this scenario here, I'm going to log into the provider dashboard onto Divergence. So they have a web platform for practitioners, clinicians, where you can program in the specific brain training protocol that you want to run, right? So with neurofeedback, there's all these different potential sites on the scalp physically that we can put the sensors. And on top of that, we also have a whole bunch of different oscillatory EEG activity that we can potentially target using neurofeedback, right? The brain has activity all the way from 0 cycles per second, right? Like pure actual like DC changes, direct current sort of polarization changes in the cortex, as well as alternating current oscillatory activity that's like a wave when you look at it as a voltage over time kind of graph. And so in order to actually train the brain for specific outcomes like better sleep or improved mood regulation or more kind of mental energy and activation, and a whole bunch of different things that we can train using this EEG brainwave biofeedback technique, we got to dial in what the specific brainwaves are that we're trying to change and how, right? Whether we're trying to increase them or decrease them through the rewards that are built into the program. So here, I have pulled up my provider platform. I'm not able to show it to you right now. I know this is caveman level live streaming because I don't have it set up where I can do the screen share. But I will tell you right now that I've pulled up my provider account, and I'm trying to verify that I have a protocol that's going to work. And looks like I do. And we're going to be using a protocol with T5, P3, P4, and T7 as our sensor locations. And you don't have to know where those are, because when you get your BrainBit Flex yourself, you can see that the cap is labeled with all the different international 1020 system locations for the EEG sensors. So with this specific protocol, we're actually going to be inhibiting alpha. Alpha is the brainwave activity that reflects cortical idling, i.e. Inactivity, essentially, or inhibition, cortical inhibition. And so with this neurofeedback protocol, the goal is to monitor in real time these sites that are in the posterior temporal regions, the areas behind the ears, and then the areas in the parietal lobe. And we're going to be reducing the alpha activity in those areas by using the Neurofeedback app, the Dive by Divergence app. And what's going to happen is whenever the brain is making less activity in the specific areas that I'm applying these sensors to, we're going to get the reward, which I'll show you in a minute. So right now, I'm putting the gold cone electrodes on the inside of the cap. These are the parts that are actually going to be pressing against my hair and scalp. And then we have these little snaps on the outside for the electrodes 1 through 4. And with this particular protocol, I'm actually going to be, the software is set up so that we're actually doing the same thing with each one of the electrodes. So it actually doesn't really matter what order I get them in, but I'm going to get them in the proper order anyways, because it'll be interesting not only to experience the training and potentially experience a shift in terms of my level of kind of focus and presence, but also to be able to, after this session is done, take a look at the different functional activity in those different parts of the brain, right? We have both sides of the head that we're training in sort of the back. The areas behind the ears are the posterior temporal regions, and then the areas above those, sort of like 2 inches above, is are the parietal areas that we're training. It's part of the parietal lobe. So right now, I'm just putting in the rest of these electrodes. Right now, I'm placing sensor 3 at 1020 site P4. Let's go back to the live streams and see if anyone is watching. No. Nobody is watching. And I still don't know if my audio is working, but I guess we're going to find out. I suppose one thing I could do is watch on my phone. This would be some real Inception level stuff. Is the audio working?
Is the audio working?
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
We're having fun, folks. Cool. So we're almost done putting in our sensors. The beauty of this setup is that you only have to do it once when you're only working with one protocol. And obviously, there's so many different ways in which we can train the brain using neurofeedback. But from a practical perspective, we're usually going to be working on one protocol at a time for, let's say, 10, 15, 20 sessions, sometimes two. And when we're working with two protocols, we can usually manage it so that we don't need to be changing the montage or the arrangement of these little sensors on this cap. So maybe you can now see, here, let's see if I can get this thing to focus. You can see that the sensors are placed across the different 1020 locations. And now, boys and girls and everyone watching, we're going to connect the BrainBit Flex to this very cool magnetic adapter. And then using Velcro, we can just fix it to the top of the cap so that it's nice and tidy. And it's now kind of a singular unit. And all that's hanging out off are the little ear clip sensors. And now let's put it on the old noggin. I got a haircut just for this. All right, I'm putting it on. I got the Velcro here. This cap is a large and it fits me pretty well. So you can see that I got these ear clips. I'm gonna put that on each ear. And this cap fits me pretty nicely because it's not too tight. It's able to Velcro underneath. And the next thing I'm going to do is ensure that the comb electrodes are kind of nestled in the right place. So you can kind of wiggle them around. The longer comb electrodes, you have to kind of like make sure that they're standing upright and haven't caved in, fallen over to one side or the other. And squeeze the little ear clip electrodes, and we're just about ready to go. Now, the feedback that we're getting in this is going to be coming from videos on YouTube. So that's what the Dive app uses to actually provide the real-time neurofeedback. Is you're watching a video and the app is modulating the volume and the brightness of the video, which is a real-time reflection of the neurofeedback exercise that you're doing. And so I'm kind of curious now that I've started this live stream and wishing I had thought this through before. Since we're going to be watching YouTube videos on YouTube, are we going to get a copyright strike by doing the neurofeedback training live on air? This is the question, folks. And unfortunately, you would be surprised. I mean, my channel is not monetized since I have about 10 followers. I have less than 200 followers. But I am interested in not making this any more complicated than it needs to be. So let's just go ahead and before we actually try to start doing the training, pull up some copyright-free background music. Because I think that is going to be what we use during the neurofeedback training. All right. So now, this is the part that's going to be hard to actually show, but we can do our best. I'm going to pull up the Dive by Divergence app now that I have my cap on. And I'm not in any ways like sponsored by Divergence or anything. I just happen to like their platform. and happen to like those guys. If you are enjoying what you're seeing so far, want to learn more about Divergence, I actually did do a podcast episode with the great Alex Nee, friend of the show, and great advocate for neurofeedback and a great friend and ally in developing these tools. Thank you, Alex, for making great stuff. And now, folks, I've opened the Dive app. Actually, I should go back. So this is what kind of like the home screen looks like, and I doubt it's going to actually focus because my camera is really genius. But I can just tell you that at the top, it says today's activities, which are the protocols that I have deployed for myself. So if you're doing this yourself, you're going to see the protocol that's there for you and just be ready to run. So I'm going to click on the one that I want to run. It's going to say preparing your session, and then you select your device. So when the battery is plugged in, it will show, the device will show up. It connects via Bluetooth. And now it's going to tell me where to put the sensors on the cap, which I've already done. So we can fly right through this. Sensor 1, T5, sensor 2, P3, sensor 3, P4, sensor 4, T6. International 1020 system.
BrainBit Flex. Ensure that you have selected an appropriate size of...
It gives you a little tutorial video on how to turn the thing on, and then we get our signal strength screen, which I hope you can see. This, my friends, is showing us the 4 active electrodes, and it's also showing us a real-time readout of what it thinks is the signal quality. And if you see me putting my hand in front of my face, that's because that's what it takes to get this thing to focus. Let's go back to the live stream, see if we have any questions in the chat. No, nobody is here. Hello, friends. Say hi in the chat. We're having fun, folks. So right now it's giving me a readout of the signal strength, and it's kind of bouncing around right now because I'm moving, which is to be expected, right? So obviously, well, maybe...
The neurofeedback exercise you are about...
Not obviously. The brain makes very tiny signals, right? From the scalp with wet electrodes, we're measuring peak to peak, something like 50 microvolts or 50 millionths of a volt. And so a good signal strength is important in terms of getting what we want out of the training. And it's also difficult in the sense that if we move around and jostle electrodes, it is going to affect the signal quality, as does muscle tension, as does potentially electromagnetic interference. So right now, I'm just going to sit still and stop talking for a moment, and we'll see if we get a good signal quality. And right now it's showing us that the electrode behind the left ear, this one at T5, is the worst electrode. And so I just wiggled that around, and hopefully that will improve. I need like a second top-down camera here. I think that would be nice. All right. So now the protocol has started, and I'm on an Android device. I'm on an Android device, which, unlike the iOS, because of Apple security features, on Android, it will allow the app to run in background mode, which means in real time right now, it is modulating the volume and brightness of the whole Android system proportional to the neurofeedback exercise, which with this protocol, we're training down alpha in these sensor locations. So, whoopsie, just jerked one of the cables. So now I can hit the home button now that it's running. And you can see signal strength going across the screen. It's not great because I'm talking and moving around. But I can click the home button. And now open up YouTube and watch the video of my beautiful DRM free music and get in some neurofeedback training. So I'm going to talk a little bit less for the next little bit. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down in the chat. But for the most part, we're going to be doing the training and basically just paying attention to the video that is playing in the screen. And I'll show that to you once we get it going. But this is the part where we relax and essentially just use open awareness, open focus, just watch the video. Maybe it's kind of boring, maybe it's kind of relaxing, just kind of noticing what's coming up without really trying to achieve anything, because the neurofeedback training is actually happening on a kind of subconscious level. We can't really control the EEG activity in question. So I'm going to click play. Now I'm just starting the session, and it's a little bit on the loud side for my preference. So in order to adjust the range, I go back to the Dive by Divergence app, and you'll see there are these little sliders. Here, let's see if we can get it to focus. Okay, you can see there are these little sliders. So those sliders allow us to change the minimum and maximum volume of the system. So I'm actually going to turn this down quite significantly. Now, I don't love this music, but I also find it fine. It's important to choose music that you actually do want to hear. I'm going to be watching the screen, and so a majority of the, so I'm getting feedback both in the form of the screen brightening and dimming, and also the volume modulation. So I'm just going to place this down on the desk here by my computer, by my little YouTube stream. And I'm actually just going to watch the screen and have kind of open focus, not really trying to get it to change in any way, but just kind of aware and curious. Okay. We did it. Okay, so I'm going to take the cap off. Does not feel uncomfortable. And actually, now that I'm removing the ear clips, there's a tiny bit of tenderness on one side, but only for a second. And now that we're done with the neurofeedback session, take this off, remove the battery so that it doesn't drain the battery. I'm sorry to those of you who watched that who were bored out of your minds, but perhaps in some tiny way, you too experienced a shift. And the way that showed up for me, again, the training volume is going up and down. The screen brightness is going up and down, both directly proportional to the neurofeedback exercise goal, which for this protocol was to train down the amplitude or the intensity of alpha activity, roughly speaking, in the back of my head. And alpha is an idling rhythm. It also reflects in the back of the head sort of a relative activation of the default mode network, which kind of comes online when the brain isn't doing anything. So maybe that's all confusing to you. I don't know. I don't know who you are. But from a subjective experience, it's really interesting because you kind of feel like you don't know. I kind of feel like I don't know exactly what to do to influence the training, and it's not necessarily the point to try to figure it out, so to speak. And yet you do start to get a little bit of this like intuitive sense of what's altering it. And for me, with this protocol, it did get brighter and louder when I was more alert and more present in a certain sense. It's hard, it's subtle, it's kind of hard to describe. I would say right now I feel renewed and clear and kind of refreshed in a certain sense. So there you have it. That's what it's like to run that protocol. And I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration of what it's like to run a neurofeedback session. I'm sorry I don't have the camera situation any better, but maybe this will be the inspiration I needed to get a second camera angle over here somehow so that you can see what's going on the app side of things. If you have any questions about how this all works, put them down in the comments below. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing more frequent live streams. Go to traceneuro.co if you want to connect with me, if you want to do a discovery call, if you want to see if neurofeedback is for you, traceneuro.co. Click the link at the top of that page. It will take you to my Stan store where you can book those things. You can pay for stuff or just do a free consult. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see future live streams like this. It's only uphill. It's only up from here. It's only getting better from here. Thanks so much for watching. One day of training done.